Shut up and sit down.
Another great episode of No One Asked Us coming right at you. I'm Craig Choate. That is the Logan Lee on the other side of the screen for those of you on YouTube. Thank you for joining us today. It is a Tuesday evening. We are recording a day later this week because we wanted to talk about the Big Ten awards that came out earlier today. So it is Tuesday evening in the East. Thank you for joining us. Follow us on all our social media channels at No One Asked Us Pod, at Craig W. Choate, at the Logan Lee on Twitter. Those we have had for numerous years. Well, we've had ours for years. The show is now a year old, I guess. But we recently have added Facebook and Instagram to our portfolio. Facebook, just search for at No One Asked Us. I believe Facebook has handles now for pages. You can search at No One Asked Us Pod, and it will take you right to it. Instagram, we are also at No One Asked Us Pod. So give us a like on those. We're going to post all of our shows on there. I'm not sure how we're going to utilize the Instagram feature of this, but we're going to figure something out for Instagram as well. If you're watching this on YouTube, give us a like, give us a subscribe. That would go a long way. We're really pushing. I really want to get to 100 subscribers. We're at 63 right now, I think. I really want to get to 100 subscribers. So if you could please, if you're watching, hit the subscribe. You're already here. Hit the subscribe button. Get us to 100. Also give us a like. That would help push this video out to more people on Apple or Spotify, wherever you're listening. Rate and review us. That would really help us as well. All right, it is a Tuesday afternoon. It is gloomy outside. I think it looks like yours is a little sunny. It's gloomy where I am. So it's kind of a down weather day. But how you doing, Logan? Had a day to come down from the high of Sunday?
Woo. Yeah, definitely. That definitely had a day to do that. Yeah, weather was not great here the last couple of days, but it is starting to the sun's coming out here a little bit. Still not very warm outside, but yeah, coming down after Sunday. Absolutely, that's exactly what's happening.
Dropping your 2021 Big Ten championship shirt.
Yep. I don't have a 2022 one.
Mine's on the way.
I'm sure it is. Just living, man. Just living. Sunday was fun. Gearing up for the madness.
Madness is here.
Madness is here. Madness has started. I caught some of the madness last night.
Yeah.
Holy smokes, that was fun. Whatever conference that was.
SoCon and Sunbelt played last
night.
The
SoCon. I had that on right before the West Coast.
Yes.
Or was it the Sunbelt? Whichever one was on. Right
SoCon was the buzzer beater.
Yeah, that was fun. But yeah, just gearing up for Illini basketball in March. So let's do it. I'm excited. It's here. Let's go.
We have a ton to talk about, so we're gonna jump right in. We do have college basketball. We got NFL. We have a huge NFL news today that we're gonna discuss, and there's not much to update. We'll talk about some baseball as well, and a movie that I think Logan will probably go see soon, and I will likely go see as well because I've heard nothing but positive things. But first things first, moment of the week. What you got this week, Logan Lee?
A name that I mentioned on the show before, Caitlin Young.
Yep.
Caitlin Young, baby. OVC Player of the Year. So shout out to her, Oakwood Zone at Murray State. Caitlin put up 20 points a game, 8 rebounds. She just scored her 1,000th point in just 58 games.
Sophomore, right?
Yes, that's a sophomore. Yeah. Pretty damn impressive. So shout out to her. Their last season in the Ohio Valley. They will now move to the Missouri Valley, which will be a little bit tougher competition. But I have a hard time thinking that she won't be the best player in that conference either, if not one of the best. So shout out to her. I haven't heard anything about that national award that she was a candidate for. I don't know if they've announced that or not, but either way, she was the OVC Player of the Year. Pretty cool for her. They did lose in their tournament, so their season is done. At least they're not going to the NCAA tournament. But she's got a couple more years, so pretty cool to see that.
Good stuff. That plays into something I wanted to mention. I'll use it as my moment of the week. Today is International Women's Day.
It is.
So that plays right into that. So shout out to all the women in our lives. We've all got multiple great women guiding us. So Thank you for all you do. And
True.
we need, I think we've seen more and more women in higher positions and getting more love lately when it comes to prestigious jobs and prestigious positions. And I think it's a good thing. And we need to keep going and get more. My moment of the week is from Saturday college basketball. Do you know the name Keontae Johnson?
Yes, I do.
Keontae Johnson was a star for Florida basketball. And he collapsed on the floor last December. And so he has not played since. I'm not sure if they've released exactly or if they know what it was yet. Do they? Have you heard?
No, I'm not sure.
Initially, they thought it was that heart condition that they thought was caused by COVID, but I think they ruled that out. But anyways, that's neither here nor there because he is still recovering from that. He is not able to play. But Saturday was senior day in Florida for the Gators, and he got an honorary start. So they put him on the court for the tip-off. They did the tip. They tipped it to him. He gave the ball back. The big round of applause. They were playing Kentucky. He shook all the players' hands, went over to Coach Cal, shook his hand, gave him a hug, and a really cool moment because that kid was bound for greatness. He was their best player up until the injury and the condition. So it was really cool for them to get him back on the court for senior day and give the tip to him and let him have a moment there for I think what will be his last game. Yeah.
I do have one other thing.
Okay.
This just came across today, so we haven't had a lot of time to discuss it between you and I, but Dick Vitale announced that he is cancer-free, or at least that's what the doctors are telling him right now. So he posted that on Twitter a few hours ago or an hour or so ago, that his March is starting off with the W. So happy to hear that. Hopefully we get to see him in a broadcast booth sometime soon. I know he's going through a lot of stuff with his voice too, but it's good to hear that the cancer at least is not showing right now. So positive vibes to him. That's pretty awesome.
Yep, I was going to mention that as well. I'm glad you did just now because I would have forgotten it if we got through a lot of stuff and hadn't mentioned it. I don't think he'll be in a booth though for a while because didn't they tell him he had to rest for like 6 months or something, rest his voice. So maybe next season, the start of the 2022-2023 season, we might have him back. But yes, good thought there. Moving on to question of the week. Last week's question, who's holding up the MLB labor negotiations? This is kind of what I expected, and I have to admit something. It should be skewed even more one way because I read the question wrong and I voted the wrong option. So the owners got 83% of the vote for for who's holding up labor negotiations. I read it as whose side are you on in the labor negotiations. So I voted for players.
Not at all
what it says, or what we talked about on the show. So, but it was
thanks for playing along.
Owners, 17% players. So
paying attention.
Huge majority is in favor of the players, saying that the owners are causing the labor negotiations to stall and no progress, which we'll talk about here in a little bit. The question this week, it'll be on our Twitter. If you see it, retweet it. Let's get some more votes on the questions. And it's something that it's a question that deals with news that broke today. Who has a better next 4 years on the football field? Aaron Rodgers or Russell Wilson? Both were in the headlines today. Aaron Rodgers making his decision, and Russell Wilson is no longer a Seattle Seahawk. So we'll tell you where he's going to play, and we'll talk about the implications and what we think the next 5 years look like for them. So who has a better next 4 years, Aaron Rodgers or Russell Wilson? Anything about that before we move on?
No, I think we'll talk about that as we get a little further into the show.
All right, moving into the bulk now. Illini basketball. They are the Big Ten champions, Big Ten regular season champions. We say this every show, every weekly episode that we do. We do post-game shows now for Illini basketball. So the meat of what we talk about and dissect for Illini basketball are on our post-game shows. We did a lengthy one Sunday night after Illinois beat Iowa. I think it's 35 minutes, maybe 40 minutes, where we get into a bunch of different topics. So if you want to hear instant reaction from Illinois winning, head there. That's a good place to start. But we are going to recap it a little bit here just the week in general. They started the week Thursday by beating Penn State 60-55 at home. And then they capped it off Sunday by beating Iowa 74-72. Going into the weekend, because Wisconsin beat Purdue on Wednesday, right? Was it Wednesday? One day last week. Because Wisconsin beat Purdue, Illinois had to hope Nebraska would beat Wisconsin if they wanted to win the Big Ten championship. Purdue played Saturday. They beat Indiana, so they were one game behind Illinois. Illinois would have been tied with them if they had lost to Iowa, but scenario plays itself out. Wisconsin and Nebraska is on in the afternoon, like noon or 2 o'clock Eastern start, and Nebraska pulls the upset without 2 of their best players. Nebraska pulls the upset in Madison. So there was a good 4-hour window, I think, 3 or 4 hour window there where Illinois fans knew what was at stake and they just had to sit in the nervousness and the anxiety of this game. And Illinois comes out and they get down 15 in the first half. They close and they're down 7 at half. And then they win the second half and they beat Iowa. And pandemonium breaks loose. First regular season title since 2005. It is a shared title, but it is a title nonetheless. There will be a banner hanging in Oven. Are there banners in State Farm Center for where are they at?
Well, okay, I don't know. I haven't been there in years. I'm assuming they are. Are they not? Why wouldn't they be? I know there's a Final Four banner hanging up there, so
they've got the 5 Final Four banners up on the far wall, but then they've got the ring right above the court that has all the jerseys.
I'm pretty sure there's one. I think
they do something. One. They have regular season championships and they just put the years.
Yeah,
so there's not an individual. Okay, there's not an individual banner.
No, okay. I don't think there will be. Okay. I don't think there will be an individual banner.
They're just adding another year to it.
Okay.
Yeah, that makes sense. Either way, a new addition coming to the State Farm Center because Illinois is the Big Ten champs. Discussed it at length on the postgame show, but what does this mean for the program? I mean, in a span of 5 years, Brad Underwood comes in here, and in a span of 5 years, he has the worst season in Illinois basketball history. I think 14-20, 14-21, first 20-loss season ever for Illinois basketball. And then he goes and 4 or 5 years later wins the Big Ten championship.
Obviously, it's huge. I think, we've spent a lot of time, you and I, debating even before this show even existed about where Illinois basketball stands in the scope and in the realm of college basketball, and how good of a program it is, how good of a job it is. And we and generations before us know the history of this program, know where it was in the Lou Henson days and the Bill Self days and the Bruce Weber days. We know what this program can be at the time when the Big Ten was dominated by Illinois and Michigan State. I mean, programs are always going to be cyclical. Not every program is going to be a Michigan State or a Duke or a Carolina, where it's going to be, at the top on a more consistent basis. But just getting to that level again, and not doing it just not doing it 1 year, doing it now 3 years in a row. Granted, they've only gotten one conference title out of that. They did win a tournament title last year. But just to have the record, have the stats, have the wins to back it up, this is huge. I mean, this is something that Brad Underwood can take into the homes of recruits. This is something that fans can be excited about. This is something that the players can obviously be proud about. It's just not something we've had for a long time. Illinois sports has been dominated by the country club sports. I mean, it's been a tennis school and a golf school. It's been so long since they could really tout a football program and a basketball program. I mean, there have been moments, but to really have sustained success in the Big Ten is huge. It's huge for everybody. You still need to see something out of the tournament. Let's not hide that, and we can talk about that too. But just to have the success that they've had in the Big Ten alone, one of the best conferences in all of college basketball, if not the best. You can certainly make a case for it. It's huge. It's incredible. It's something this program has needed for a very, very, very long time.
Brad Underwood's first season was 2018. They went 14-18, 4-14 in the Big Ten. That's the fewest Big Ten wins since 1999. They went 3-13. They were tied for 11th in the conference. 2019, They were 12-21. That's the season I was talking about. It is by record the worst season in Illinois basketball history. They were 7-13 in the Big Ten, tied for 10th in the conference. So they went T11, T10, and then 2020, the year that COVID stopped before the postseason got here, they were 13-7 in the Big Ten for 4th. Last year, 16-4 for 2nd. And this year, 15-5 for tied for 1st. So T11, T10, 4th, 2nd, T1st. They've got the double bye in the Big Ten tournament 3 years in a row, had there been a Big Ten tournament in 2020.
I love the graphic that friend of the pod, Robert Rosenthal, has put together the last few weeks. It looks like a UPC code that he just tweeted another one right before we started recording of all the orange and the blue lines. The blue lines indicating a conference loss and the orange lines indicating a conference win. And you can just see the amount of blue at the start of Brad Underwood's tenure, and then how much it's just all orange to the end. It basically, as I said, he puts an orange line if it's a conference win, a blue line if it's a conference loss. And so you can just see, the direction and how things have shifted in just those few years. Like, that's just a kind of a cool way to visualize it. Again, that doesn't account for, titles and things like that, but just to show you the number of wins. That's just a really cool thing. You can look that up if you haven't seen that. It's on his Twitter account, but that's just
crazy.
a fun way to be able to look at it. I know, isn't it? It's nuts.
It's crazy.
It was so much blue those first few years. And then basically I believe it was that the Michigan State game. That's what he's talked about in the past, that's really when things started to change. And it went from the blues, which were the losses, to just so much orange.
Which Michigan State game? The one at home? When they rushed the floor?
Might have been
the IO dagger where Dan Dockich said this isn't going to end well for Illinois.
Yeah, it might have been. I think maybe. Let me see if I can find it. So it was actually the Wisconsin game in 2020, I believe. It was IO hit a shot over Brad Davison. That's kind of the indicator that Robert uses on that chart to kind of show where everything kind of changes.
Hold on.
Did I say chart?
Yeah, yes. Blooper reel.
Good night.
You can start over.
It's actually the Wisconsin game that Robert uses as an indicator. The Wisconsin game in 2020. There was an IO hit a shot over Brad Davison in that game, and that's what he uses on his chart to kind of indicate where everything kind of turns from the blue to the orange. So you can visualize it. You can see it on Twitter. It's all there to be seen. But that's kind of, as I have said, that's just kind of a fun way to kind of just visualize everything that's happened over the last few years.
I think that's the game where they broke the losing streak at Kohl Center. It was like 20-year losing streak at Kohl Center. So that makes sense. Yeah. Also, looking back, you touched on, you need that tournament success. Illinois missed the NCAA tournament 8 times starting in 1980. The 1980-81 season, Illinois missed the tournament 8 times through 2013. So 33 seasons, they missed it 8 times. And then there was the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, technically 7-year gap just now that they broke last year. So they missed it 8 times in 30 something seasons. And then they missed it 7 straight seasons. Would have been 6, but the tournament was canceled. So I'm with you though. I need a second weekend for this program to be back to where it was. You need a second weekend soon, hopefully this year. Should have had it last year. But yeah, need a second weekend to to cement that this program is back. Anything else about the week or where the program stands?
No, just got to be happy with the results. I think Brad said he was sending a case of wine out towards Lincoln.
Was that for real or was that fake?
I don't know. I couldn't tell by the tweet that I was reading. I wasn't actually listening to the show. It was just referenced in a few different people's tweets that he apparently said that in his
radio show
with Brian Barnhart. So I don't know, but I mean, I would imagine he's sending something that way.
Yeah, that's what I joked. Brett Barron's
or he's buying the whole team St. Elmo's this week. One of those two things is probably happening.
Brett Barron's tweeted a picture of the confetti cannons getting set up Sunday, and
I saw that.
Someone asked, "What color of confetti do you think it is?" And I replied, "It better be half orange and blue and half red and white, because Nebraska is just as Nebraska is just as
I know
as worthy of that than Illinois is." So it is Big Ten tournament week. It gets started Wednesday night with Nebraska and Northwestern, the 13 versus 12, and 14-10 Minnesota versus Penn State. And then Thursday, we'll have 8 versus 9 starting the day, Michigan and Indiana. Then Iowa plays the winner of Nebraska and Wisconsin. Then they clear it out. And then session 3, it will be, is 7 versus 10, Michigan State, Maryland. And then Ohio State's the 6th. They get the winner of Minnesota, Penn State. Illinois kicks it off Friday morning, 11:30 a.m. All the games so far are on BTN. The first 3 rounds are on BTN. Illinois will get the winner of Michigan and Indiana. Rutgers gets whoever they get, Iowa, Northwestern, or Nebraska. Wisconsin gets the winner of Michigan State, Maryland. Purdue gets the winner of Ohio State versus either Penn State or Minnesota. So that's how the bracket sets up. Looking at it, I'm thankful that Illinois avoided Purdue. That's not a good matchup. Illinois avoided the Purdue side of the bracket until the final. Also avoid Ohio State and Wisconsin. But you do have Iowa on your side. You have Rutgers on your side, who just beat you 3 weeks ago. But I said it in the postgame. The team I am most scared of on Illinois' side of the Big Ten bracket is Michigan. Michigan terrifies me. And that could be the game Friday morning.
I don't know that I would say they terrify me. I truly, I've said this several times and I will say it again. The only team in this bracket that truly I don't know that Illinois can beat. It's not that they can't beat, but it's Purdue. Purdue's the one team that I don't want to see. If you get them a third time, I think the chances are even better that you beat them. But still, that's just the one team that I wouldn't want to see. Sure, yeah, Michigan can scare you. We have really yet to see their best. I'm not sure if anybody really seen their best. I mean, I would say they're a dangerous 8 seed, but I mean, they have not had the best year. So, I certainly don't want to see them. But I feel I'm with you. I see what you're saying. You see them as being more dangerous to play than Iowa or Rutgers, which I can understand that. But if you get past Michigan, you only have to see Rutgers or Iowa. You don't have to see Wisconsin, and you don't have to see Purdue until Sunday. Yep. So, I mean, I'm okay with it. I'm not going to sit here and say that Illinois is absolutely going to win that game on Friday. But I'm probably not as fearful as you are. But I can see where you're coming. They're a talented team. When they're playing and they're healthy, they're going to have Juwan Howard back. Don't know what that means. You have to assume they'll have a healthy Hunter Dickerson.
Are you okay?
Yes, I'm good. So yeah, I see where you're coming from. I do.
Later in the show, we're going to do predictions for conference tournaments, so we don't want to predict too much of it right now. But that's how it lays out. That's how it shakes out. It should be a good week. Again, starts tomorrow night. A couple tournaments start today. I watched an ACC game earlier. There's another one going on right now. A couple other tournaments I think start today as well, but Big Ten runs Wednesday through Sunday. Sunday championship 3:30 Central, leading right into selection Sunday. Should be a good weekend of basketball. I have been keeping my eye on tickets, but I don't think I'm going to pull the trigger. I was
about to ask you if you were going to
go. I would love to. One of these years, I'm going to buy full season or full session and just go post up. I covered the Big Ten tournament in Indianapolis my first year at WCIA, and it was spectacular. I loved the city. I loved the arena. I loved the setup. One of these years, it's going to happen. Just don't think this year is going to be the year.
I'll join you.
It's right in the middle for us. Meet right in the middle. There were Big Ten awards announced today, so we're going to break it down. Starting with the first team, all Big Ten. Before we do this, though, did you see the SEC and the Pac-12? They have 10 player first team awards.
That's
their first team Pac-12 is 10 players.
That's some Missouri Valley shit.
No, they only do 5.
Maybe it was the women one year. I don't maybe they always do. I don't know. There was definitely one year there was like 10 people on the first team.
Doesn't make any sense. But anyways, Big Ten awards here. Kofi Cockburn, Johnny Davis, Jaden Ivey, EJ Liddell, Keegan Murray.
0 issues there.
Hold on. Did you hear them?
Yeah. I can. You're fine.
All right. They're calming down.
You can go at 10 to them if you need to.
No, it's not Christy, because I told her to text me when she's closed and she hasn't texted me. So I don't know what they're barking at right now. First team, all Big Ten, Kofi Cockburn, Johnny Davis, Jaden Ivey, EJ Liddell, Keegan Murray, both media and coaches. Kofi and Keegan Murray were unanimous for both. Some media member did not put Johnny Davis on the first team, all Big Ten.
I'll be honest, that baffles me. I don't understand that.
No.
I'm kind of surprised that they weren't all 5 unanimous.
Yeah.
I thought the 5 was pretty straightforward at this point. I mean, you could certainly make arguments for other people. But I thought there's a good chance that they were all 5 going to be unanimous, let alone Johnny Davis not being unanimous. That makes 0 sense to me. Unless that person had Trent Frazier on their first team, then I'm not gonna. I guess I won't argue with that. But yeah, that one was baffling. But for me, I mean, that was the clear 5. I think the last few weeks of the season. At certain points throughout the year, you could have talked me into somebody like a Zach Edey or a Travion Williams, or maybe I don't know. There were certainly other people in there. Hunter Dickinson, maybe, but I think the last few weeks that 5 had pretty much was pretty set.
Yeah,
I mean, they're all 5 all Americans. I mean, all 5 of those guys are going to be on just about every single All-American team, whether it's a first or second team. I mean, that's pretty incredible that the Big Ten has 5 guys who are going to be All-Americans. So yeah, I wasn't really shocked by those 5.
Yeah, I think it's those 5 are the 5 I would have voted for. I think at one point you could have added Dickinson, Edey, and Trace Jackson Davis. I think it was an 3 weeks ago. It was an 8-person race. And then the last, those 2 or 3 weeks, it kind of separated itself into the 5. So second team was, these 5 made both coaches and media: Hunter Dickinson, Zach Edey, Trent Frazier, Ron Harper Jr., Trace Jackson Davis, and the coaches had Brad Davidson on second team. Trent, second team all Big Ten. How about that?
I am so happy for Trent Frazier. Yeah, we have been screaming his name from the rooftops for months. And there was a part of me that was like, I wasn't expecting it. I really wasn't. I was sitting there watching this release on Big Ten Network when they were doing it at noon today, thinking he was going to be third team. I didn't have any doubt that Trent wasn't going to be third team, but I was really hoping he would get second team. I just wasn't really positive it was going to happen. Yeah. So I was very, very happy to see that he was voted by both the coaches and the media, because he absolutely deserves it. I mean, Kofi was clearly the best player on that team, but Trent was the most valuable all season long. He just did so much for this team. carried a lot more of a load than I think he was expecting. And he was great. So I'm super happy for him to be on that list.
Yep. I don't have too much issues with either of those. Ecstatic for Trent, for him to go out his super senior year with a all Big Ten team selection is fantastic. The one thing that I think that shows is that coaches value Brad Davison and the way he plays. Makes a lot sense. For the coaches to honor him with the second team. Yeah. As much as we throw shade and hate him, if he was on Illinois, he'd be one of our favorite players. I mean, you can't not admit that. So I think it shows that the coaches value what he does, dissecting his game and all that more. Third team coaches: Gio Baker, Malachi Branham, Gabe Brown, Bryce McGowan, Alfonso Plummer, Trevion Williams. That was the coaches. Media went Malachi Branham, Brad Davison, Bryce McGowan, Alfonso Plummer, Trevion Williams. So Alfonso Plummer, both coaches and media. Third team, all Big Ten. The only transfer on any all Big Ten team. 16 or so players on each coach and media, first, second, third team. He is the only transfer to be named on there. They made a big stink about that on the Big Ten Network release. Again, no issues. I don't think anyone was really left off. There were some honorable mention guys. I don't have those written down, but there was a list of about 15 honorable mentions that didn't make third. But
yeah,
all in all, I think it shook out about as most people expected it to shake out. No surprises.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think, certainly once you get to that third team, there's, a handful of guys that you could put in that conversation. There were some guys that were on bad teams that, might have had good enough seasons, but at what point do you reward them for being on good teams? I don't know. But yeah, for the most part, I think it's a pretty straightforward list. 3 Illini. I was surprised. I didn't think Plummer would be on it. I'm glad that he was. I just wasn't sure that was happening. I thought he was inconsistent at times, so I wasn't sure if he would. But I didn't know that there would be a third. If it was going to be a third, it was going to be him, obviously. But I wasn't really sure if he would make the cut. So I thought that was pretty cool too. And being the only transfer in the era of the transfer portal, that's pretty impressive. That's pretty cool.
And the award that I think most of the Big Ten fan base was curious where it would go, although I think it was also kind of obvious, was Player of the Year. And Johnny Davis does win Player of the Year by both coaches and by media. I personally thought, and I almost tweeted it out, but I saved it for No One Asked Us exclusive. I personally thought that by Illinois winning a share, that Kofi might edge him out. Because his numbers are a little bit better. Kofi averaged 20 and 10, 21 and 10, I think. Johnny averaged 20 and 8.2 rebounds. But I think Johnny just did so much more for his team, more well-rounded than Kofi. Kofi is a force, but I think Johnny was probably the right pick. But there were honestly 3 good candidates between Johnny Davis, Kofi Cockburn, and Keegan Murray averaged 23 points and 9 rebounds. His numbers were almost better than Kofi's, if not better, depending on what you value more. What do you think?
Well, you said the key thing right there is what you value and the person that's voting, what the person that's voting values. I don't really have, and you and I kind of talked about it briefly before we even started recording, or maybe it was at the top of the show. I don't remember. We've been doing this for so long now. I have no reason to not vote for Johnny Davis. Yes, I do think Kofi's stats, if you want to look at stats, were a little better. But I don't know how good Wisconsin was if Johnny Davis wasn't on the floor doing what he did this year. Illinois without Kofi, maybe an IT good. I'm not sure that Wisconsin even was that. He was, yes, they had some solid role players and role pieces on that team, but so much of what they did involved him. Now, certainly that wasn't the case for Illinois and for Kofi, but I think it was, in terms of that, I probably would give a slight edge to Johnny Davis. But I would have no issues with either one. I mean, I understand. I see Keegan Murray's stat line. I see the number of points he put up. I would have had an issue if it was him probably over Kofi. But I don't have an issue with Johnny Davis over Kofi. I think they were 1A, 1B, 1C, and I was fine with how it ended. It's kind of what I was expecting, especially the last few weeks. I think Johnny Davis there, he went kind of hit a lull for a few games where I kind of thought maybe things were turning. But
Kofi also had a couple bad games.
Right. Yeah. It's not like Kofi was out there dominating every single game. I mean, he struggled at times too. So, I have no issues with Johnny Davis winning this award.
I think if Kofi would have had his normal 20-10 night against Penn State, or there was one other game where he went like 12-2 or 12-3 there, whatever it was. I don't remember. If he wouldn't have had those two, if he would have still scored his 20
Ohio
and got
State.
his 10. Yes.
Because he hardly even played in the end.
Yes, I think you're right. I think you're right. If he wouldn't have had those two games, he might have snuck back in, and because he would have averaged 23 and 12 instead of 20.
They would have won that game, they would have won it outright.
Outright. Yep.
And I think that could have gone his favor too. So
yep. The other awards handed out, Trevion Williams got Sixth Man of the Year. Caleb McConnell got Defensive Player of the Year. Defensive team was Trent Frazier, Eric Hunter Jr., Trace Jackson Davis, EJ Liddell, and Caleb McConnell. EJ Liddell led the league in blocks. McConnell led the league in steals, 2.2. No issues with those. Would have loved for Trent to get Defensive Player of the Year, but McConnell was a much better defender. If you just watch a Rutgers game, he locked up whoever he was on. So,
and he has the stats. He has the stats to prove it.
Yeah.
I mean, Trent wasn't as much of a lockdown defender as Trent was. He wasn't leading the conference in stats or in steals or anything.
Yeah.
So if you're just looking at pure stats, I'm glad Trent was there. I'm glad he received the recognition that he deserved. Would have loved for him to get the award to the Defensive Player of the Year, but yeah, that was McConnell's for sure.
Yeah. Freshman of the Year went to Malachi Branham, Ohio State, over Bryce McGowan's of Nebraska. I think there was a lot of talk about that because McGowan's had 8 Freshman of the Week award wins during the season, but he did not win Freshman of the Year. And then the freshman team was Musa Diabate, Max Christie from Michigan State, Malachi Branham.
I don't even know if I saw this.
Shoot. I mean, who won? Bryce McGowan's, and I cannot think of the 5th. I don't know why I can't think of the 5th. But
I don't even remember seeing the
Chucky Hepburn. Hepburn.
Yeah.
It was those were the 5 freshmen. Don't need to dissect those. The other one that we do want to talk about, Coach of the Year, went to Greg at guard. No surprise there whatsoever. They were picked 10th in the preseason. They get they get a share of first. It's his second Coach of the Year in the last 3 seasons. Illini fans want Brad Underwood because of what he had to deal with and all that stuff. But Illinois was picked at the top of the league. Wisconsin was not picked at the top of the league. I don't think it was even close. To not being Greg Gard's award.
Yeah, that's what this comes down to. I commend Brad for what he's done. It bothers me that he's had this success and he still doesn't have a Coach of the Year award.
Yeah.
And you can certainly make an argument for him this year for what he had to go through with the suspensions and the injuries and the COVID stuff and concussions and everything. And had Wisconsin not gone from 10th in the preseason to where they finished first, you could certainly say that it was probably Brad's to win. But you can't not look at Wisconsin that way. I do have a question though, because I saw this question asked on Twitter. I do believe it was by Austin Berkland. Put this question out there. I think he has a point that are we giving Johnny Davis and Greg Gard these awards strictly because of what they were expected to do? Is that why Greg Gard won this award? Is that why Johnny Davis, because of where last season ended and where they were in the preseason polls, and Johnny Davis was nowhere to be seen on preseason on conference lists, and for where they finished, is that why they are receiving? Not that I'm not suggesting that they don't deserve the awards, but I do think you can make a case for both Kofi and for Brad Underwood having better seasons as either of those. But because of what was expected from Wisconsin and what was expected of Greg Gard and Johnny Davis to where they finished the year. So if they went away, not that they're going to, but if they went away with the preseason all conference ranking, whatever you want to go with, if they go away with that stuff and get rid of it, do you look at the postseason awards differently?
That's a great point.
I think,
and one that I see the merit in,
right?
But also, Wisconsin did win the league,
right? No,
but
I agree.
Illinois did as well. So a lot of times, I would say the majority of the time, the conference player of the year comes from the best team, and the coach of the year, not as often, but a lot of times also comes from the best team. So I think when you factor in that they did win to go along with the expectations, that is probably why they won. Yes. But I don't think it's solely because they were picked 10th in the preseason.
No, I don't think it is either. But I think that
had Wisconsin finished third, you're probably looking at Kofi and Brad.
Right.
But they did get the share. So I think
I'm with you. I do think there's something to it. I think there is something to your expectations and then where you finish. Maybe not as much Johnny Davis, maybe more so for coach of the year, probably. But either way, it's not like either of them aren't deserving, because that's what would have gotten my vote for both of those awards had I had a vote. But I do think it's an interesting debate, because we do have these preconceived notions when you start the season, like Andre Curbelo, preseason all conference, preseason all American. Granted, he has injuries and other things that kind of derailed his season, but you have these preseason expectations. And then when things kind of fall apart, then, it can work either way. It was just an interesting topic. So
that's a topic that I think we can talk about at length, is preseason awards. What's the point?
Yep.
Preseason rankings. What's the point? Like I like the one thing I like the college football playoff that they do. They don't release their rankings till like week 12. So we know what the teams that we're ranking are. Like we rank these college basketball teams preseason. Memphis was, I think, a top 10 team in the preseason. Now they're back now. They're playing really well now. But or Michigan.
Well, I mean,
Michigan
said Michigan was going to win Big Ten, or at least
Michigan was Big 10 or top 5 team in the country. They haven't been ranked since week 7. So the preseason stuff, I take no merit in preseason. It's a good accolade to have. But there's no reason to have them. Did you watch any college basketball Saturday that was not the Big 10? That happened to be in a state on the eastern border?
I admittedly wasn't watching as much of this game. I saw it at the beginning. I left my parents' house, went to my brother's house, eating dinner. Didn't really think I needed
you went home.
Think about it. But at one point, I looked at my phone and I thought, oh my God, this is actually going to happen. Duke is actually going to lose at home on Coach K's last game at Cameron Indoor Stadium. And it happened.
Was that stadium named after your brother?
Yes.
Okay. I thought so. He's a big deal. Yes. For those that live under a rock and didn't see, Coach K had his last game at Cameron Indoor Stadium as Duke head coach on Saturday against North Carolina. As it always is, the last game of the season is always Duke UNC. I think it probably bounces around from where it's at. Chapel Hill one year, Duke the next year, but this year was at Duke. More than 90 of his former players were in attendance. Adam Silver, who I think I heard is a Duke grad, was in attendance. The NBA commissioner. Jerry Seinfeld was there.
They were sitting next to each other.
Dirk Nowitzki was there.
I didn't realize that.
There were some celebs, and Justin Thomas, PGA Tour golfer Justin Thomas, was there right on the half court line behind the scores bench. Just a who's who, basically. One of my buddies texted me and said, looks like a Lakers game out there in Cameron Indoor. But UNC did go on to get the win, a double-digit win over Duke, cementing them into the NCAA tournament. So UNC had a ton to play for that day, not like their NCAA tournament berth.
Yeah.
And they would love nothing more than to beat Duke and Coach K in his last game. They didn't give two SHITs about Coach K's last game and whatnot. And I think the majority of the country didn't either. I mean, I loved seeing the reaction as this game was playing out of people so happy that this was happening. And I was right there with them. I tweeted it with like 10 minutes left to go in the game. Like, who do you want to win this game? Do you want Duke and Coach K to go out happy and on the high horse, or do you want them to get upset with UNC? It was like 70-30 UNC. It was insane, and I loved every second of it.
All right. So let me ask you this. Not that I disagree with you, because I believe I tweeted something along the lines of I couldn't help but laugh a little bit. Why is that? Why are we collectively, as a sports-minded country, why do we have so much negative feelings towards Duke?
When you think about college basketball in our lifetime, who's the first program you think of?
Duke.
Exactly. They've won, and they're cocky when they do it. I think that's the thing. From Coach K,
I mean, you're right.
I think Coach K tries to play, and maybe deep down he wants to be, the father figure, the good guy, but he just comes off as he runs this sport. We've seen it multiple times in the handshake line where he grabs a player and he talks to him like after the game, after they do something wrong, and he's like, you're too good to be doing that, or anything like that, or he scolds not his players but the other team's players, like that's not how it's done. Like, you're not his coach. Like, you have nothing to do with him. Leave him alone. So I think it just comes off wrong, and the whole program I think comes off wrong, and they've just been so good, and everyone loves to beat them, and I just think that's what it is. They're easy to hate. They're the Lakers. They're the Cowboys. That's
what I was going to say. Is it
Yankees.
Coach K, or is it that they're the Yankees of college basketball?
It's all of that. I think Coach K plays into that aspect. Coach K makes them easy to hate, I think, because of the way that he has kind of made it known that he's the dean of college basketball and the king of the sport, and how he does it is the right way to do it. I will say he's the best college basketball coach of our life. Like, there's no denying that. He is the gold standard of staying at one school for however long, 40 something years, 42 years, staying at the same school. As far as we know, doing it the right way. He's never been in trouble for anything. Now, was he doing illegal stuff? I'm sure. I think everyone has done illegal stuff. So, I mean, he's the gold standard. Like I said, he is what every coach wants to be. He's been at the same school since 1980. It's goals for every other college basketball coach to be like Coach K. I just think that he made it too much about himself. And this year goes to show it. He announced before the year that this was his last year and had this whole farewell tour and all of this stuff. And I was listening to, I forgot what podcast it was. It might've been I don't want to say it because I don't remember who it was, but they were talking and I didn't realize it. Did they even do a senior day? Did they even honor their seniors? Or did they make it all about Coach K?
I mean, I would assume so. I can't imagine.
I don't.
That they would.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, the other thing is, do they even have seniors? I think they've got 3.
Yeah, I'm sure they do. But you're obviously you have more feelings on this matter than I do. I'm not a Duke fan. In my life, I've always been anti-Duke, just like I've been anti the Yankees and, some of these other things. I don't know that I have all the same negative feelings towards him as you do. I get where you're coming from. I understand that he has been somewhat of a polarizing figure in the world of college basketball and the world of coaching. But I don't know. I have a lot of respect for them, for that program, for him as a coach. As much as we want to hate them, what they've done, and since all of our lifetime and well into the 80s, has been incredible. I mean, it's, we think about the blue bloods in college basketball a lot. We think about the Dukes and the Carolinas and the Kansas and the UCLA and the Kentuckys, all of which are actually blue. But like that's the one that really sticks out to me. I don't know that they necessarily have the most titles in my lifetime. Do they have the most titles in my lifetime? Is that a thing, or am I making that up?
In our lifetime,
Yeah.
I believe so.
I mean, that's who I still think of. I still think of them. And it's not that they've had like a Yankees type of run, like the Yankees had in the 90s. I mean, yeah, Duke's been good consistently just about every season, but I don't know. As I said, I still have a lot of respect for them, respect for him. Granted, I do know that, some of it's been polarizing, but as I said, I still couldn't help but laugh a little bit that that's how it ended. I will say though, I'll call it now. Karma is going to bite everyone that was happy for that. And you know who's going to be cutting down the nets in April? You wait for it. That's how he'll go out.
Oh yeah.
That's how he'll go out.
Yeah.
It'll be Duke. It'll be Duke winning the whole damn thing.
Duke does have the most titles in our lifetime. They have 5 since 1991. They won their first in 1991. Okay. They have 5. Carolina has 4. 93, 05, 09, and 17.
Okay. But yeah, that's what I'm predicting. I think that it'll be Duke cutting down the nets in April after this. See it happening.
So. Do we want to go champ week next, or do we want to go into bracketology coming off of you talking about Duke winning?
Yeah, we can do that.
Let's go bracketology next. Logan has become a local bracketologist. What do you got this week, Logan, heading into champ week?
Oh, got a lot of time put into this again. What do you want to know? I put my own, not really my own spin on this, but I have put together my own list.
I think the standard is.
I was comparing it with, with other people and, where other people have. My list in terms of who's in was nearly identical to what Bracket Matrix has. I only had one team in that did not have, and that was VCU. I had VCU and they had SMU in, but it was really close in terms of the point differentiation that they do on that website was like 0.2%, or I don't know, whatever it is. It was close, but I had VCU in that. In terms of like first team out, first, last, all that stuff. I think my last 4 in right now, which would be the 4 play-ins, are Rutgers, Creighton, Memphis, and Michigan. As of right now, again, this is before conference tournaments really get underway. If Michigan gets a win against Indiana and maybe a win against Illinois, obviously they'll move their way up off that line. But as it stands right now, that's what I would have: Rutgers, Creighton, Memphis, and Michigan playing into play-in. I have Illinois as a 4. I know there still seems to be some debate about Illinois. They were a 3 according to the committee a few weeks ago when they did that. They have since lost a game to Ohio State. Most people have them back on the 4 line, but most people had them on the 4 line anyway. So I don't really know where the committee sees Illinois. I still have Illinois as a 4. I've had Illinois as a 4 this entire time. I think they can move their way up to a 3. If they win a game or 2, or maybe win the whole thing in the Big Ten tournament, I think they could play their way up to a 3 or maybe even a 2. But as of right now, I still have them as a 4.
Where's Wisconsin?
I have Wisconsin on the 2 line.
Okay.
Let me ask just one mark over Purdue. And
let's ask this. Our friend Robert Rosenthal, once again, tweeted this. On February 19th, the committee said 18-7 Illinois was a 3 seed, 20-5 Wisconsin a 4 seed. Right. Since then, both teams lost once. Illinois to net 22 Ohio State, Wisconsin to net 140 Nebraska, and their best wins were equal. So why do most brackets have Wisconsin ahead of Illinois?
It's a good question. And he has a post about that I have not been able to read yet.
He posted an article.
I will read that at some point.
Yep.
To see what he says, because I think it's interesting. And that's what I don't know why they were a 3 to begin with.
Is it because Wisconsin beat Purdue?
I mean, that certainly puts them in that conversation. What I'm going off of is mostly just numbers. I'm using different numbers that are already there. I'm using a number of things that I've kind of somewhat created myself. And that's kind of what I'm going off of for the most part. I don't have the time to sit there and look at individual matchups and who's played who and all that stuff. Like I don't have the time to do that. But just based off the numbers and everything I'm seeing, Wisconsin and Purdue are both above Illinois right now. Can that change? Yes, absolutely. But
I think that makes sense.
I
think that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, listen, whatever happens this week, the Big Ten tournament will obviously change everything. But as of right now, yes, Wisconsin is below both Purdue and Illinois in the net. Wisconsin is below both Purdue and Illinois in KenPom. In terms of their records and their win-losses, there's definitely a case that Wisconsin and Purdue are both higher up on that than Illinois. That's just kind of what I'm going off of here. So it's not by much. I mean, I think they're close to one another. And what happens this week will obviously change things. But as of right now, that's what I have.
Okay. Last thing, go through your 1, 2s, 3s, and 4s in order.
The ones: Gonzaga, Arizona, Baylor, and Auburn. I think it'll be Gonzaga, assuming it'll probably still be Gonzaga, but assuming they win the West Coast, it'll be Gonzaga. Assuming they win the Pac-12, it'll be Arizona. And then I imagine it will be either Auburn or Kentucky and Baylor or Kansas, assuming one of those win each conference. So I have Gonzaga, Arizona, Baylor, Auburn on my 1 line, Kansas, Kentucky, Villanova, Wisconsin on my 2 line. Duke is an interesting one here too, because I don't have Duke as high as some people. I've seen Duke as high on as the 2 line. Mm-hmm. I right now have them low on the 3 line. I don't know if the Carolina loss certainly had something to do with that, but again, it's just kind of some of these numbers that I'm looking at. I don't know really where to fit them, but I still have them on the 3 with Purdue, Tennessee, and Providence. Providence is another interesting one there. They're like Wisconsin. The metrics do not like them, but they have the record to show it. So I have I have Providence on the 3, and then my 4 line is Texas Tech, Illinois, UCLA, and Houston. That's where we stand right now. So the other thing too is I think everybody still has Illinois going to Milwaukee. I don't really see a scenario that puts Illinois in Indianapolis unless they win the Big Ten championship and get themselves ahead of Purdue. That's the only way Illinois ends up playing in Indianapolis. They have to be above Purdue on the overall numbers. And that's going to take, I mean, obviously you have to beat them in the Big Ten tournament probably to get there. But either way, Milwaukee's not a bad first draw.
No, not at all.
And I don't think they should have any issues getting to Milwaukee. I've seen some people that have somebody else there, which I don't totally understand. I think it was like Kansas I saw. I didn't really understand the idea of sending Kansas there when they could choose Fort Worth. Not that either of them are particularly close. But that's kind of where we are with that.
Who you got? What's the 13 Illinois playing?
I believe it's Toledo.
I'll take it.
I switched it today. It's right now it's Vermont.
Oh, I don't like that.
No, I had Toledo earlier. The reason I switched it, and I don't know all the rules in terms of like the matchups. I know they can't play each other in the first round, but like, how does the play-ins work? Like if, like the 12.
If
like
Illinois was a 5, could Michigan be in the play-in? Is that what you're saying?
Or yes, or even like the 4. So if Illinois is a 4, can you play somebody in the second round that you've already played before, or is it just the first round?
I have no idea.
And that's the thing. So like Illinois, if they're the 5, they'll potentially would get like a Michigan or a Rutgers in the second round if one of them wins their play-in and then beats the 4. So I wasn't sure about that. So that's kind of why I moved them around. But I originally had them against Toledo as the 13. But right now I have them as against Vermont just because of that. But I have Vermont, Chattanooga, Toledo, and Iona are the 13s.
I'm trying to quickly look over last year's bracket to see if there would have been or could have been a conference matchup in the second round.
I don't know all the rules.
Seeing any. I'm not seeing any through 3 quadrants. I don't. I think they try to avoid that. I had
Yeah,
notes, but I think they try to avoid that.
I think they do. They'll try their best to avoid it.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not always possible, but
Interesting.
Yeah.
All right. Good stuff. We are less than a week away from the actual bracket. So yeah, I like it. We did something fun last week. We're going to do something fun this week. Kind of fun. It's similar to what we did during the football season. We're going to pick our conference tournament winners.
Fun, he says.
But we're doing it a little bit different. I'm going to go first since Logan went first in the national champions draft. I'm going to go first on this, and I get to pick what conference I want and who I think is going to win that conference. And then Logan cannot pick the same team off that conference. So if I pick the Big Ten and Rutgers first, he could go Big 12 and Baylor second. And then I could go Big 12 and Texas second.
Wait, so how many are we picking?
6.
So we'll each have 6.
We'll each have 6.
So we will still have 2 teams from each conference, but we just can't have the same team.
Can't have the same team. And yeah, you can pick when you pick what conference. It's not like our first pick is going to be the ACC. Like you can pick whatever. So I'm going to go first, and I'm going to take Arizona to win the Pac-12.
Wondered if you would go that way. Okay.
I think they are by far the best team in that conference. And I think all the other conferences are kind of a toss up. I think Arizona is easily the favorite to win the Pac-12.
Yeah, that's obviously the same mindset I had. But I feel a little differently. I would have taken Duke, and I will take Duke.
Yep.
Just because yes, they did just lose to North Carolina. Any of these teams can lose in the first round of their conference tournaments. We're obviously going to get picks wrong, but if you're looking at differential, it's Duke and then a bunch of crap. So yes, for the same reason you said, I will take Duke.
Okay. But I mean, Arizona just lost to Colorado too, so it's not like they're unbeatable either. Now's where it gets tough. I am going to go to. Oh, man. Okay. I'm going to go to the Big East for my second.
Really?
And I'm going to take Villanova.
What do you know that I don't? Villanova. Interesting. Okay.
I think Jay Wright in March, like you said, metrics don't like Providence. I think that's really their only competition. I don't think the Big East is very deep.
From here out, it's a little more tricky.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I thought that I would come into this with the plan. And I put them down, the teams that I wanted to pick, but I didn't really come up with much of a game plan after that. Thought I would just do it on the fly.
See, I didn't even do that. I didn't even put teams down.
I did put teams down. I will take. You know what? I'm not going to do that. I have ridden that team so long, and I'm not going to do it. I'm going to take Kentucky.
Ooh, okay.
I'm going to take Kentucky out of the SEC.
Okay.
I know you can make an argument for Auburn. You can make an argument for Tennessee. Something tells me Kentucky's going to do it. I'll take Kentucky out of the SEC.
Okay. So where do I want to go here? I'm going to go Big 12. I'm still thinking about who I want, though. I'm going to go Kansas for the Big 12.
Okay.
Baylor's got some depth issues. Texas Tech has fallen a little bit. Texas isn't consistent. I think Kansas is the pick for conference tournament.
So there's only one conference that we haven't picked yet.
That is correct.
I have no idea what way to go.
That's why I avoided the Big Ten.
Excuse
me. Sorry.
I'm going to take Wisconsin.
Wow.
I'm going to take Wisconsin. I have been, as I just referenced, I have been riding Purdue all season long, and they just continue to let me down. So I'm not going to do it. And I love Illinois. Obviously, I would love to see Illinois win. I just don't see it happening. They did it last year. I would rather them use their energy on the NCAA tournament. So I'm just going to hope. I'm going to just send that juju that direction. I will take Wisconsin to win the Big Ten.
I'll talk about it when I make my Big Ten pick. All right. So we each have one team from 3 of the conferences. So we're not going to compete anymore. We can pick whatever we want. So which one do I want? I will go. I'll go. I guess we should have probably looked at the brackets, because who's the 1 seed in the SEC tournament and who's like
1 seed is Kentucky.
Okay.
Auburn's the 2.
Auburn is the 2.
I believe Tennessee's the 3.
No, Auburn is the 1. Kentucky is the 3. Tennessee is the 2. Okay, I'm still gonna take Auburn.
Weird.
I'm still gonna take Auburn. If they would have been on the same side as Kentucky, I would not have. But I will take Auburn from the SEC.
All right, I want Texas Tech.
Interesting.
Does that surprise you?
It does.
I mean, yeah, Baylor is Baylor. I don't know. I just have a feeling about Texas Tech this year. I'm not necessarily predicting a Final Four run, but for the Big 12 tournament, I think they got more to play for. I think they probably think they're better than they're getting seeded and they're getting ranked, and the other 2 are locked into a 1 or a 2 seed. So I'm going to take Texas Tech out of the Big 12.
Okay. I watched them a couple times and they've been so good and locked down defensively, but I haven't watched them lately. But looking at their results, something's off. But they have the ability for sure to take the whole thing. All right. I'll say Big Ten for last. I'll go ACC. And I think there's only 2 teams in the ACC. Notre Dame's not going to do it, I don't think. Miami, Wake, they're not going to do it. So I'll take UNC. I know they just beat Duke. Don't think they can do it again a week later, but I'll take UNC and maybe need some luck on my side, but I'll take the Tar Heels.
All right. I will take UCLA. I think if Arizona doesn't win the Pac-12, UCLA will. I think they got a lot of experience from what they did last year. I think they're capable of going on another run, and I think that could start here this week.
Okay. My last pick's the Big Ten. Do I want to play to my audience again, like I did last week? But I think I'm with you. I almost don't want Illinois to win this weekend.
I don't.
But the thing is, I want them to beat Michigan or Indiana because I hate both of them. And then I want them to beat Iowa again because I hate them. So ideally, maybe a Sunday loss. Maybe a Sunday loss. I don't know.
Do it.
I am not going to pick Illinois to win.
No, that's not what I mean. There's another one out here I want you to do. I want you to do it so bad.
Nebraska?
No.
I am going to boiler up and pick Purdue to win the Big Ten tournament.
I wanted you to take Rutgers.
Oh, no. No. It was between Purdue and Iowa and maybe Michigan. I'm really high on Michigan, as you can tell. It was those 3 between me. It was really between Purdue and Iowa, but I'm going to go Purdue to win the Big Ten.
All right. I will take Providence. I have no idea what to do about that team.
That's why I picked Villanova early, because you know what you're getting with Villanova.
Yeah, I don't know. I'll take Providence.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. I like how we did this. We'll run through them. My picks are ACC. I've got UNC. I've got Purdue winning the Big East, Purdue winning the Big 10, Villanova winning the Big East, Kansas winning the Big 12, Auburn winning the SEC, and Arizona winning the Pac-12. Logan has Duke winning the ACC, Wisconsin the Big 10, Providence the Big East, Texas Tech the Big 12, Kentucky the SEC, and UCLA the Pac-12. We will send those out tonight. I know some of these tournaments have started, but none of the teams that are going to win the tournaments have played yet, so not going to impact our picks.
You don't know.
Much. That's true.
Boston College could win the whole thing. The ACC sucks.
That's true. That is very true. All right. We've talked a lot of college basketball. We're going to move to women's basketball now. And Illinois has a change coming at the top of the women's basketball program. Nancy Fahey has retired after 30-something years, 36 years as a college women's basketball coach. She is a Hall of Famer already. 5 seasons at Illinois. She went 42-99, 7-77 in the Big Ten. That's coming off of 31 seasons at Wash U in St. Louis, where she had 737 wins and 5 national championships. So she was a storied, heralded women's basketball coach coming to Illinois from Wash U, and just didn't find the success at Illinois. Never really got it off the ground. Really, really struggled. 7 Big Ten wins in 5 seasons. She went winless in the Big Ten her first year. Then she won 2 games the previous 3 years after that, and then 1 Big Ten game this year. They did win a game in the tournament, but that does not count to your Big Ten record. So after 5 seasons, Nancy Fahey has decided to call it quits and hang up the whistle as she retires from Illinois women's basketball.
Yeah. That program, I didn't look it up ahead of time. They have not gotten it figured out ever since Teresa Grentz left. I feel like that was
is their last
30 years ago. 2003 was her last year?
But no, that was their last tournament appearance.
Oh, who was the coach then? Gillette?
I thought it was Grentz.
Might have been. I don't remember when Teresa Grentz left. Point being, they just haven't figured it out. They have tried multiple things. They brought in a hot shot top assistant at a big time program, Gillette Law. That didn't pan out. They tried Matt Gallant, who came from Wisconsin, Milwaukee, or something like that.
Green Bay,
whatever it was. Hot shot mid-major coach. That didn't work out. I never understood the Nancy Fahey thing. I knew that was a Josh Whitman connection. I knew she was a legendary coach at the Division III level. If that was like just to use something that we're familiar with, if that was like a Barry Henson situation, somebody brought in to kind of clean up the program, I can understand it. I don't know that the program was in a total disarray. I know there was some controversy and some issues there, but I don't know. It just didn't make a lot of sense. I understand he was just trying to do something different, seeing if it worked. Clearly it didn't. And it's time to move on. I know that she retired, and I'm sure she did retire, but that was also a change that needed to happen. Yeah, retire. Yeah, I have no idea. I have no clue what they're going to do next. I know very little about that world. All I really know is Cindy Stein, and she's also retiring. So I don't know. I've heard names from other people. I'm not going to sit here and try to pretend that I know what I'm talking about. If you want to hear important people in the know talk about that, go seek out their stuff. I'm sure there are definitely qualified candidates out there, but it was a change that needed to happen. So, yeah, I don't know.
So 2003 was Grentz.
Okay.
She left after the 2007 season was her last season. She made the NCAA tournament in 97, 97, 98, 99, 2000. And then 2003, Sweet 16 in 97 and 98, second round in 99, 2000, and first round in 2003. Illinois has not been back since. Nancy Fahey,
she was even there that long.
My read on the situation, and I never really talked to anyone about this specifically per se, but just the vibe that I got. Fahey and Underwood were hired in the same offseason.
Right.
Nancy Fahey, in my eyes, was a hire for Josh Whitman because he knew that he would not have to pay any attention to that program.
Right.
Ballant clearly wasn't getting the job done.
Right.
So a change needed to be made. So he thought, all right, let me bring in this Hall of Fame coach that has won 5 national championships at a lower level. Maybe she can translate that. Maybe she knows something and can translate that into Division I. No one has given her a chance. I know she's not going to cause me any problems. She's not going to get our program in trouble. I am not going to have to worry about Nancy Fahey running a women's basketball program. I have Brad Underwood coming in. I need to make sure that's the right hire. And he was still overseeing Levy Smith, which I think everyone was not criticizing, but we're still a little curious as to how that was going to play out. Josh Whitman hired Nancy Fahey because he knew he wouldn't have to spend a lot of time evaluating that program. Right. Now you've got Brett Bielema and football, have them in a great position. You've got Brad Underwood, Illinois back in the top 20 nationally. Don't have to worry about that position. Now he sees Fahey has won 7 Big Ten games. Him and Fahey have a good relationship. I think they both saw that it wasn't working. You can split it up, amicably break up, whatever the term is, and you can bring someone in and do a little more research. That was my eyes, was that Josh hired Nancy Fahey solely because he knew that she wouldn't cause any problems and she would run the program correctly. That was where my thought process was. Where do they go from here? I don't know, because they've tried pretty much everything. They brought in, I don't know where Gillette Law came from, but
Rutgers.
She was head coach at Rutgers.
Top assistant at Rutgers.
Okay,
which was a really good women's program.
Right. They've brought in a top assistant from a top program. They brought in a head coach from a lower program. They brought in someone now from the lower levels of Division 2 and 3, tried to get them to figure it out. I don't know where you go from here. My eyes simply say, go get the best mid-major coach out there. Brian Hamilton at The Athletic said Dayton's head coach should be in the running. They are on the cusp of an NCAA. They're on the NCAA bubble. She's a young Shauna Green is her name, but he also said that she's going to be a very popular name. So I'm sure Illinois is not the only program out there looking for a head coach. So interesting to see where they go. I would love for them to make a good hire, because I said it when I got to Champaign. I would love for the women's basketball program to be relevant. I think women's basketball is so fun to watch when it's good. Being down here in Louisville, got a top 5 program down here. Only went to one game because their games are on weird days of the week. Only went and saw them once in person, but watch all their games on TV. They're fun to watch. Just as fun to watch as the men's teams. So I hope they make a good hire and get things turned around. All right, we've talked a lot of college basketball. Now let's move on to the biggest news of the day. NFL news at that. Aaron Rodgers is staying with the Packers. Tons of rumors and talks of what he was going to do, but he has said he is going to stay. There have been reports on his contract being signed. He has since denied that he has signed anything other than he told the Packers that he is coming back. So take that for what it's worth. He still says that he has not signed anything on paper, but I tweeted it when the news broke. This is good for the NFL. This is good for the Packers. This is good for the general NFL fan base, because the last Hall of Fame quarterback the Packers had fell out of favor with the Packers, I think is what happened. And he left and he ended his career with the Jets and the Vikings. And it just didn't seem right. This keeps Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay probably through his career, which is always a cool feather to play for one franchise. I think it doesn't happen often anymore. So I think it's good for football, other than Bears, Lions, Vikings fans. And sorry to all of you, but I don't care.
So I heard Colin Cowherd made this point today. You know who it's also really good for? Fox.
Shailene Woodley? Oh.
Fox. You know why it's good for Fox? Because tell me what other good quarterbacks are in the NFC, especially after the other deal that happened today.
I mean, the whole NFC West. Not whole. 2 of the 4 out of the NFC West. Matt Stafford, Kyler Murray.
Okay. And then who? And then it's Rodgers, it's Kyler Murray, it's Matt Stafford, and then it's your boy Dak. He's like the 4th best quarterback in the NFC. You think of all the good quarterbacks in the NFL, way over half of them are in the AFC.
That's
so add that to your list of people that it's good for. It's good for the executives at Fox because the NFC is struggling for quarterbacks right now.
We've seen over the last couple of years, I feel like Fox isn't necessarily the NFC network anymore. I see a ton of NFC games on CBS now.
No, there is some crossover with scheduling, but it's still an NFC. NFC is still Fox. Regardless. Yeah, I think it's huge for everybody involved, except for the parties that you mentioned, except for the NFC North. It needed to happen. I understand that eventually things go sour. Quarterbacks especially have a tendency to go somewhere else for the last 4 to 5 years of their career. So I kind of expected that would happen here. I have no skin in the game, to be honest. I really don't care one way or the other. I've never been a Packer fan, but good for him. I don't really know where the money comes into play here. There have been reports that it was a certain amount, that it wasn't a certain amount. He has said it's not reported correctly. I don't know. I have to believe that if money is on the table in a league that does have a cap, that he is leaving openings financially for them to bring in other people, because he knows that they're going to still need some help. But yeah, good for him. It's unfortunate though for teams like the Steelers, teams like the Colts, that thought they were going to be in the running for some of these quarterbacks. Not that he was going to be able to go to all these places, but you clearly saw the domino effect with the other thing that we'll talk about here, and how that impacted this, how the Rodgers decision impacted the other one. But good for him. Good for him to stay there, and hopefully he can win another Super Bowl for them in Green Bay. Not that I would like to see that happen, but I know there are plenty of people that want that. And he could probably use another one for whatever reason. It's not like he's not already in the Hall of Fame, but
so
he only has one, right?
Could you one Super Bowl? Yeah. Could you imagine if they had spent a draft pick on a wide receiver instead of Jordan Love 3 years ago? That's a topic for other conversations.
Yeah,
but,
that blew my mind then, and it blows my mind now. Like I didn't understand that. I mean, clearly they were going through some sort of a wrinkle with Rodgers at the time. So that's probably why they did it. But like in the era of the era of quarterbacks we're living through right now, where they play to like their age 50, I just don't understand why you would be like that willing to move on from Aaron Rodgers. But
yeah,
whatever.
That did open the door, like Logan said, for another move, an even bigger move in my eyes today. Russell Wilson has been traded to the Denver Broncos. Remember a couple of weeks ago, we were talking about Rodgers and all that stuff, and Logan asked where I thought he would play. I thought Rodgers would end up in Denver because the former Packers coach, OC, is now the head coach, Nathaniel Hackett. Well, obviously that didn't happen. And so hours after the Rodgers news breaks, a Shefty bomb that the Seahawks are trading Russell Wilson and a 4th-round pick to Denver for Drew Lock, Shelby Harris, Noah Fant, 2 firsts, 2 seconds, and a 5th-round pick. I think Denver got the better end of that deal. Doesn't seem like they gave up a whole lot, if I'm being honest, because Drew Lock is not a starting quarterback.
They gave up a lot of picks.
Shelby Harris is a good defensive tackle. Noah Fant's a great tight end, I will say that, but he doesn't have a quarterback to throw to him. But the thing is, and McAfee Show, who I was listening to when I went to get lunch, made this point. The 1st-round picks that they're getting from Denver will likely be between 25 and 32. They're not top 15 picks.
Yeah.
So they're not going to be great 1st-round picks. So trade all the 1st-round picks you want. If you're winning, they're going to be 30 to 32 overall. So,
I mean, yeah,
I think Denver wins it.
Yeah, Denver wins the trade for sure, but the Seahawks were done. Like that era is over. They need to essentially reboot. So whatever that means, yeah, they're not getting a lot back. But they're getting rid of a quarterback so they're not wasting his talent anymore. They're going to get some picks out of the deal. Granted, yeah, they're not super high picks or anything, but they're going to give a fresh reset. They know they play in a division with the reigning Super Bowl champs. They know if Kyler Murray stays, that the Cardinals are going to be an issue. The Niners were just in the NFC Championship, I think. Was that the NFC Championship, Aaron?
Yeah.
So like they know the situation. They know they got to restart here. So yes, they did not win the trade. I don't know that there's many people that will say they did, but they got stuff out of it and they can move on and don't feel like they're wasting Russell Wilson anymore, because I don't know that he was so adamant about not being there anymore as some other quarterbacks have been. But I think it was pretty obvious that he didn't want to try to do that there anymore because it just wasn't going to work.
Yep. It's weird how Denver seems to get all the quarterbacks that want their second team now. Peyton Manning decided to go to Denver, and now Russell Wilson goes to Denver. The other NFL news, the other NFL news, just real quickly, Calvin Ridley has been suspended for the entire 2022 season because it was this is buried now between Rodgers and Wilson because he was betting on NFL games while on an NFL roster. It was during the time that he was away from the team. He was on IR, so he was not involved in the games, and he always bet for the Falcons to win. So he was not betting. He wasn't point shaving. He wasn't throwing games. He was not even in the locker room. He wasn't in the stadium. He was away from the team betting on games. Apparently he was doing like 3-team parlays and 5-team parlays and stuff. He tweeted out that he bet a total of $1,500. Like, it wasn't a whole lot of money, but neither here nor there. He was betting on games while he was currently employed by the NFL. Seems a little ridiculous to me. But I also understand that you can't let that happen because it's just opening a bunch of doors. I think it's another one of those hypocritical NFL moments because DraftKings, FanDuel, all of those sports books are plastered all over NFL stadiums and NFL broadcasts and giving the NFL just millions and millions and millions of dollars. And then you suspend a dude for a full season for using those platforms. But the biggest thing is this dude is suspended a year for betting on games. When you have players of domestic abuse that get slapped on the wrist, like, figure your shit out, NFL. That is that's a bad look. Not that they haven't had bad looks before. That organization's full of bad looks. But when this dude's getting a year for throwing just a little bit of cash around on games when he's not with the team, he's not involved in the games. And then I don't have a good example, but I mean, I guess Ray Rice, but I don't know how much he was suspended, but still, it wasn't a full season. Like, you got guys beating women up and they don't get anything and they're back in the league 2 weeks later.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's not good. The whole gambling thing, it's very muddy waters right now. Not that this is a direct comparison, but I mean, we kind of saw some of this with the Kofi thing before the Illinois season, where he was selling his own. Now, granted, he was only suspended for 3 games and didn't miss an entire season. But there's definitely some muddy waters here with some of the gambling stuff. But yeah, it's not a good look for the NFL. I get that you have to punish the guy because he did break your rules, and that there are no issues with that. But the optics of this whole thing is not ideal for the NFL when you compare it to some of the other suspensions they've handed out. So, little nuts if you ask me.
Yep. Moving on now from the NFL to the MLB. Still no news on the lockout. Their negotiations are still ongoing. As of now, when we're recording, no more games have been canceled, but I think that could come tonight, right? The second week could get canceled tonight or tomorrow.
Second week. Yeah, I think that's coming.
There's no deal. So nothing to update there. But while the MLB can't negotiate with their players to put a product on the field, they apparently can negotiate with Apple to have a new deal to broadcast games on Apple Plus starting this season. So the broadcasts are more important than putting a game on the field to broadcast to the MLB. MLB is going to have a Friday night baseball doubleheader on Apple TV Plus starting this season, once games get picked up. Again, listening to Pat McAfee show today. I'm sorry I'm stealing your content, Pat, and your talking points and all that here, but I believe that leaves Netflix as the only streaming platform that doesn't have some sort of live feature now. Because Hulu has live sports, YouTube TV has live sports, Apple has live sports,
Disney Plus,
HBO Max, I guess, but
Disney Plus, yeah, and HBO Max don't have live stuff.
I mean, sooner or later, every streaming platform is going to have
Netflix
something.
will be next.
Yep.
Netflix will be next. I don't see until Disney absorbs all the Hulu stuff into one app. I don't see that changing. HBO, I mean, they do have their Turner is a part of their world. So, I mean, I could see that being something down the line, something to do with Turner, with maybe the NBA or NHL or something. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't really surprise me. I have been kind of vocal about it because I have nothing against it. The world is certainly going this direction with everything is over streaming. I just feel bad for the people like my parents, like my father, who doesn't have a steady internet connection. So he just won't be able to watch Thursday night football and whatever these Friday night MLB games are going to be. I mean, whatever, I guess it's just one game of the week or whatever, but it's just kind of annoying that I get it that most of the country has access to this stuff, but certainly not everybody does. A lot more people don't have access to high-speed internet than people might realize. But yeah, I mean, the Apple thing, that was kind of expected. I figured they would get into the game at some point. I was kind of surprised baseball was their first move. I just kind of figured it'd be somebody else. So all I hope for this, and I have not seen anything, I hope that I'll be fine if they put Bob Costas on the call here. I just hope they get somebody else to fill the color spot, because some of the MLB network broadcast teams have been hitting a much older demographic. If I could be so kind to put it that way. So whatever. The other MLB news, we don't have it on the rundown though.
Yeah.
MLB the show.
Yep.
Not that I'm going to buy it this year because I'm protesting. But they got a new announcing pair with John Shambi and Chris Singleton. So that's pretty exciting. It's been Matt Vasgersian since the dawn of time for that game. So I like Matt Vasgersian, but happy to see Boog on there. That's going to be pretty awesome.
Future guest of No One Asked Us, Boog Shambi. He's on our guest wish list. Yeah. All right. We've been going a long time. Anything else about sports that we haven't touched on? Okay.
No.
Big movie release this week. The Batman came out.
Yeah.
Have you seen it yet?
Yes.
You did? Okay.
Yes,
so we're going to get a review of the Batman here. Robert Pattinson, Zoe Kravitz. The Riddler's the villain, right? Who plays the Riddler?
Yes, it's Paul Dano. Pitt plays the Riddler. I can't even think other people's names right now. The Penguin is also in it, played by Colin Farrell. It's got a pretty loaded cast. It's really good. It's really good. My kind of brief review of this movie, and everybody wants to compare everything because we've had like 15 Batman movies in the last 20 years. It's not the Dark Knight good, because I don't think I'm in the minority here. I think a lot of people probably consider that to be the best Batman movie. I'm sure other people have opinions, but in my mind, especially, that's the best Batman movie. I would say that this new one, The Batman, is certainly in the conversation for the second best ever. It's really good. It's darker. It's long. I mean, this is a 3-hour long movie, and at times you can feel it. But they do a pretty good job. I mean, it's a different take. It's darker. It's got some noir to it. It's got some,
what is that?
It's just style of movie. I don't know, if you look it up, you'll see it. It's kind of like a older style of, shooting and things. But it also, sorry. It's also kind of like a psychological thriller. kind of like Zodiac and Seven and things like that, kind of steals from some of those movies too. So it's good. I really enjoyed it. I recommend it. I know a lot of people have already seen it, but you'll like it. It's really good. I would recommend it. I gave it 4.5 out of 5 stars. It's going to be tough to beat this year in terms of, excuse me. Wow, I'm a mess in terms of comic book movies for sure. So it's really good. I don't know that we needed another Batman movie.
Is this a standalone or is this the start of a?
They've said DC has pretty much gone away from one timeline. Like the MCU did that. The DC universe tried to do that, but they're basically just now saying like, we're going to do whatever we want. Like they just did Joker. This is not tied into Joker. This is not tied into the Wonder Womans and the Dawn of Just, like all that Justice League stuff. It's not tied into that. I imagine there will be more of these. There's been no announcement of that. But this movie will do well enough that they will. I'm sure they will do more. Robert Pattinson's a good Batman. My one review is not really a spoiler. Doesn't really feel like a lot of Bruce Wayne in this movie. It's a lot of Batman.
That's the name of the movie.
Correct. But in the past Batman movies, I mean, it's been a pretty good mix of Bruce Wayne and Batman. This is just a lot of Batman. So really good. I recommend it. Go out and see it. It is long. Fair, understand that going into it, but and at times you can tell, but for the most part, the tempo's pretty good. They keep it moving. You'll enjoy it.
Okay. I just saw a thing on Google. I just Googled it. Is there a post-credit scene? Do it need to stay for?
There is. I didn't stick around for it because I Googled it during the movie and I saw what it was supposed to be. It's not really post-credit. It's like there's like a little teaser type of thing, I guess, at the end of it. But
okay.
I don't think it's really worth sticking around for, if you ask me.
All right.
That's
I don't know when I'm going to carve out 3 hours to
go
watch it.
This is a strange time to try to do it. I'm glad that I got to it when I did, because trying to get a movie in throughout the next few weeks is going to be very difficult. But.
Yeah, I agree with that. Survivor starts tomorrow night, Wednesday night. Ooh. The Masked Singer starts Wednesday night. Big Sky has resumed. The Walking Dead has resumed. So my DVR is starting to fill up.
Did we ever talk about the Big Brother finale on this show?
No,
we just kind of
we stopped talking. I still haven't watched the last 5 episodes.
Oh, I saw. Good. Don't.
I saw who won.
Don't bother.
Spoiler alert.
It was awful.
Spoiler alert. I saw who won, and I saw that people hated Todrick afterwards for something.
Yeah, it was bad. The whole season was bad. Yeah. The problem.
Right.
Okay, I will say this real quick. The problem with Big Brother Celebrity, well, there's a lot of problems, but they let them go home. They don't sequester them in a jury house. They let them go home once they're evicted. So they can go and they can watch everything and they can text each other and call each other. And I'm not going to say that it should or shouldn't go one way or the other, or that the voting should have gone a different way. I'm not saying that at all, but that absolutely 100% influenced how that game finished. Because I do not believe that Misha would have won had that not been the case. I think Todrick played a great game in the house. People just found out outside the house after they had gone home and before they voted that he was being a really shitty person behind their back. So there you go.
Which is what Big Brother is.
Yes.
All right.
Correct.
This Zoom call has been going on for 2 hours. We did stop a couple times to take breaks and take care of some things. So the show will not be 2 hours. For those of you that are still with us, thank you for listening. Note to Logan or whoever posts this, make sure we stress there are chapters in the descriptions because I feel like this is going to be a long episode. We talked about a ton, but there was a ton to talk about today. I'm glad we postponed from Monday to Tuesday. So remember, like all our social media pages, we are on Facebook and Instagram now at No One Asked Us Pod. That is also our Twitter at Craig W. Choate is mine, at the Logan Lee is Logan's. We really appreciate it. Give us a like and a subscribe as well. We're going to shut it down for tonight. We will be with you again this week at some point. Not sure how we're going to handle post-game shows, at least on Friday, because it is in the middle of a work day. So we might not have one, or we might delay it until the evening when we're both home away from work. But thank you for joining us. That's another episode of No One Asked Us, episode 57. We'll be back again this week. Until then, see you soon.